please welcome Chairman and CEO of Accor, Sebastien Bazin, in conversation with Skift Editor-at-Large, Raini Hamdi.
Good evening, everyone from Bangkok, and hello, Sebastien. Thank you for joining us today.
It must be late for you in Bangkok, Raini.
It's about 10:30 p.m., but never too late for this interview. I'm very excited to interview you.
Same here.
So much happening at Accor. And I think I will follow your new strategy, Sebastien. Focus, simplify, and expand so that I can ask you all the questions that I have in just 25 minutes.
That's good. Plus, it's easy. There's nothing new about that strategy. It's the same one. We just changed the organization. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think everyone wants to hear more about your reorganization, the major one that is taking place at Accor right now. Can you take us through the key objectives and why the restructuring is needed now?
Well, it was needed for a long time. It's just a matter of finishing the job. You know, we've been put my glasses on. We've been working on moving from asset heavy to asset light. It took us a solid 5 years. We finally closed on the last piece of real estate being sold in February of 2020 with the real estate in Eastern Europe. And we just had to finish the job by adapting what is a new asset light model to what should be an asset light company in terms of organization. And that job was not done priorly. And it has nothing to do with COVID. It has nothing to do with cost efficiency. Of course, by reorganizing, you're thinking of being more agile. But it was a matter of understanding one thing: a third of our people spend time in meetings, and mostly internal meetings in the non-hotel located personnel. And I had enough of this. Too many people in the same meeting, no decision being made, wasted energy, too many questions being asked from the central to the hotel level, of which probably many of those were unnecessary. So the only way to move forward is to decide that cut down one layer of decision making, which was a tough decision because we decided to get rid of all the regional offices in which I had many friends and probably the best expert within Accor. You know, Michael Eisenberg, you know, Frank Zerv, and those guys. They are damn good. But in order to actually get closer to the country level, I needed to basically get rid of that layers and basically give the keys to people much younger that I didn't know as well, but closer to owners, closer to the field, and probably give them decision-making processes, i.e. it is their decision, and 8 times out of 10, they don't have to seek permission. So it's just a matter of agility, trusting, closer to the field, and reorganizing, and make sure we never go back in the way we were heavy before. And cutting down one layer means that layer doesn't exist anymore. So my successor might reinvent it, but I would certainly will not do this.
Actually, even before COVID, I think around 2016, 2017, you were already looking at a new organization structure that is agile and horizontal. What prevented Accor from reorganizing, earlier,
Well, the main reason, Raini, is you cannot do everything at the same time. I needed the asset light model to go through. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort from tax, financial people, operating people, negotiating with third parties, investors. You cannot reorganize and reduce the numbers of layers at the same time you're trying to cash in a number of the real estate portfolio. It's just a matter of priority. I knew exactly what I was going into, which is why I said that reorganization was planned with the entire executive committee in January of this year, pre-COVID. But I guess COVID has been accelerating maybe the effectiveness of it, because we have announced it mid-September and it is effective in exactly 5 days on the 1st of October. So not of a long time for people to react to it, but it's clear, it's crispy, people understand it. And again, it's probably a bit different from my peers, is we decide that locals matters more than ever, local communities, local government, local owners and guests, because at the end of the day, with the frontiers being closed, you might as well make a huge bet on the local communities, on your local clients, or inter-regional, because that's what matters the most for the next 2 to 9 months to come.
Okay. So maybe we'll talk about that. But I'm just wondering, what risk did you consider in restructuring during a pandemic?
There's not that much risk. It is probably no, because it's people have time to act. I mean, I guess unfortunately for us, we're not that busy at the hotel level. No, there's no risk associated for doing it now. And again, it is non-correlated. I would have done it the exact same fashion, probably maybe a couple months earlier than expected, but no, uncorrelated at all.
I was thinking of one risk at least. Half of your global pipeline of 1,200 hotels in Asia. Isn't it risky to change the setup at this time? Michael's built that up. Go ahead.
Anything you do in life is risky. But I'd much rather use the word daring or audacious. No, Michael is probably the best executive hotel guides in the industry. He went from creating with David Baskey before him, from 10 hotels in 1985 to 1,200 hotels in Asia Pacific. The fastest ever growth and basically network within Asia Pacific if you exclude China a minute. So fabulous team, him and Graham and Louise and Kingsley and many others. So it is a huge sacrifice for me. However, you know what he's actually even better at? He's been grooming exceptional talent. Gary Rosen heading Greater China, Gar Simon heading its New East, as we call it today. Simon McGrath basically leading Pacific, which is Australia and New Zealand. Those guys have been on Michael teams. And Michael is fully on board with me by saying, Sebastien, let's dare giving them the keys. They know their market probably even better, and they don't need to be looked over the shoulders by somebody else. It's just a simpler decision. And again, with those people no longer having to go and seek permission from Singapore and Singapore seeking permission from Paris. Those are totally unnecessary.
Okay. Actually, on that subject, people noticed that there's just one female leader in your reorganization. I have to bring this up because there was some discussion just now. What are your thoughts on gender equality at the top of hotel chains?
I've been leading gender diversity, gender parity, equal pay for the last 5 years at the United Nations for Women, of which Accor is one of the main 15 sponsors. And you know what? We have achieved 100% on salary equality. It is the exact same salary for men and women, wherever they are within Accor. And I've been succeeding at the GM level, which is almost 50-50 today between a hotel being a female or a male. And I've been miserably failing at the executive committee level, which is only 25%. And my fault, my fault, or the people who were there happen to be very good, and I cannot sacrifice somebody because of his gender. So probably takes more time than I expected, but underneath the executive committee, you'll see probably today 38-40% of women. So give me another 5 years, I will get there. But I do say it, it's unbearable. There's no reason for it except don't sacrifice somebody for his gender. I will never do that.
Right. Okay. Could I ask, how many corporate staff or percentage of corporate staff is affected by this reorganization?
25% of all the non-hotel located will be let go, which is again something which is very difficult for me because I've been saying through COVID that I want everybody back, but we have to admit that I just can't afford it anymore. So I hope all the one being underpaid, kind of actually in the 50,000 euro range, I'll probably find a mechanism on having them still on my payroll, no longer in their current position. And for the next 2 years, I'll pay for them. And that's going to be part of the All Hearties Fund that we put together. Those 2 years, time permitting for them to be trained to another hospitality sector or maybe another niche in other industries under Accor tutorship. So I guess I'm going to be helping them to find a new identity and a new job in 2 years from today. So you'll see that I guess many of them, even though they will be leaving the current organization, I will have many of them still on my payroll.
That's great. How much costs are you able to cut with this restructuring? And how else will you achieve your 200 million euros, I believe, cost-cutting target by end of 2022?
Yeah, it is roughly 20% of the total cost of the company that you're able to save. And again, it's just a matter of the minuscule example which I gave you 5 minutes ago is by getting rid of so many people asking questions, traffic of email. People have, when they get a question from Paris to Singapore, the guy in Singapore has to actually find the answer. So he called the guy in the Pacific. The Pacific basically respond back to a lot of it is waste. So it's those cost saving is numbers of people producing paper trail or phone tag of no true value add for the guests and owners. So, but no, it existed maybe for a long time and is being spotted in my face because of the new asset light model.
Okay. Would you consider selling, there are reports about it, selling your 430 million headquarters in Paris? At what point will you do so?
We don't need any cash. Accor has, even though it's been tough for the last 9 months, Accor has 4 billion euros of available cash, immediate available cash. So yeah, we could be selling the headquarters because we've been buying it cheaply 5 years ago, and there is a profit made out of it, but no urgency. So if people meet my price, they could be the lucky owner, and I'll be a 12-year user of that space. And if they don't meet my price, then why sell? I'm not a fire sales. I'm not under any pressure. So yeah, it is considered because it is in my balance sheet asset held for sale. But let's give it a try, and we'll see what's going to be the numbers.
Okay, let's then look, since you've reorganized, let's look at what growth means to you. As part of the reorganization, you are creating, I understand, 2 separate business units, ultra luxury and lifestyle. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, and I don't like the word ultra luxury, even though I'm the one who used it. It is, in the simple terms, it is Raffles, Network, and Orient Express. Because the rest is, let's not basically undermine the quality of Sofitel, Fairmont, and many other properties and brands we have. So it's main for 2 reasons, is that Raffles and Orient Express, it is la crème de la crème, very high up in the hierarchy, probably the best in industries among our peers. And it does require a different management team, different focus, and something for lifestyle. There's a lot of outside partners knocking on Accor doors, trying to, why not, partner with them with their own similar brands. But they would only do so if they were to be welcomed into a dedicated business unit and not within their core large umbrella. So it is really a matter of simplicity and agility in welcoming other owners, operator of a similar segment to beef up what I believe, certainly for lifestyle and leisure. Accor has already 11 brands in lifestyle and leisure. I think we are the biggest operator, the most diverse in terms of geography, in terms of segmentation, from Joe & Joe to Tribe to Mama Shelter to 21C to 25 Hours to Delano, SLS, and many of those. So it is the fastest growing segment when it comes to pipeline. And we've proven that we're being able to keep all the brand owners, and let's expand on it. So it's a formidable growth segment and niche. It will be under the tutorship of Gaurav Bishar. Many of you know him as being the head developer here. So it's, I feel very strong. Clearly, Raini, which is why I told you it's not a cost exercise, there is this synergy by creating 2 separate autonomous, empowered business units, but that's okay. This is what they require and need to actually grow faster.
Right, so it would have its own people, units and all that, right? You're saying?
Yeah, and likely based in London, both of them.
I'm sorry?
And likely both of them will be based in London.
Oh, right, okay, right. But you also mentioned new businesses, and that Accor is entering a new growth phase, combining integration, development, and partnerships.
Well, you know what? I am tenacious, which is the better word than stubborn. We started kind of actually 7 years ago by basically thinking about this augmented hospitality and ecosystem. And I've been opening frontiers, I hope, we're taking some risk on going into one fine stay, which is somebody else's home and apartments, going into Gecko, which is B2B digital brick, going into connectivity PMSs with DH, going with distribution platform, Last Minute, which is very chic, and many others. It's not the time to stop. All those basically been growing. All those are better integrated today within the Accor umbrella. So, and many of those could be independent and maybe should be independent, but also many of those have many occasions to grow and beef up, and even more so in the debacle of today. So great CEOs, I trust them. I'm actually directly spending time with each of the CEOs. No, it is not the time to spend hundreds of millions, but it's a time to preserve what's being built over the last 5 years. And it makes us a bit different.
Are there like new businesses like beyond our core home office that you're looking at?
Yeah, it's and I should have paid attention, and I apologize because I wish I would have done my homework by listening to Keith and to Arnie and many others today who've been prior to me on the panel. Yes, it is a time to pivot on looking for new sources of revenues, multi-usage of an existing square meter space that our owners are already invested in. And you have those two activities, which is working from the office, working from home. I am convinced that there is a third optionality here, which is working from anywhere. If you were to offer for the large multinational the capacity for their team, or actually many of them don't want to go back to the headquarters because they enjoyed working from home because they don't want to do a couple hours of mass transportation either for health or because of Western energy every single day. If you can regroup and within 20 minutes bike, car ride, walking distance from their home, you can provide them within the work, hospitality, and wardrobe, which is the co-working company we created 5 years ago. Then you're creating a new usage for the existing square meter. The owners are happy. I'm doing my job on aggregating, and I have already all those accounts and large corporate accounts trusting Accor for a lot of services. So you're going to see many of us, and Accor know better, maybe faster than others, in going deeper into replacing what may be a loss of corporate business travel into acting for locals.
Actually, in a 2016 interview with me, you said that a third of Accors revenues won't be from traditional room and F&B sales. Have you achieved that?
No, I failed. I failed.
What's the problem? Why was it so difficult?
Well, you know what is the idea is still good, which is why I'm telling you I am tenacious and not stubborn. And I probably could tell you the same thing today, even, but it's going to take me longer. The reason why it did not work is at the time I was looking for B2C market, which is addressing the local community, the guy living next door to you, and using your square meters for laundry and for depositing a package or something, which would have been immensely useful for him for day-to-day life. But it was very difficult to create a business model. How much you charge somebody to leave his keys behind for his granddaughter coming at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday? How much you charge for the laundry people to put your suit at the disposal of its client at 10 p.m.? You charge $1, $1.50, then the guy is not equipped at the reception to basically get the keys. So it was a great idea maybe, but very difficult for the GM and for my people to accept and to put at scale. So we're shifting to B2B, which is the same idea, certainly much more coherent today because of the pandemic and what we're going through. But yes, I think many of us, we can't stay here idle and not thinking of pivoting and doing something different. And again, at the risk of being wrong again, does not matter. Just try your luck, be rigorous. Don't put tens of millions on it because we don't have that money today and you can't enjoy it. Be disciplined, but just continue daring. I mean, that's Accor and that's me. So I would never change that way.
Okay. You also said that you're doubling down now on segments and brands that generate the largest profits. Which segments and brands are more important now?
Well, 12 brands represent almost 90% of Accor profit and revenues. And those 12 are the Novotel, the Mercure, the IB, the Fairmont of the world.
So that would be market and budget?
Well, they're very strong. You know what? Lesson is that I guess look at China, and you probably know that much better than I do, Raini, is they've been recovering very fast. 7 months after the fact, they're 10% down versus 2019, at least as of this minute, and they might be recovering by the first quarter of next year. So, and you know what recovered the fastest? Of course, it is economy and mid-scale. So this is the best segment to rebound because of local, domestic, leisure, and small enterprises who need your offer. So don't undermine that positioning, and the brand awareness and the RevPAR index of the brand I just talked to you about is far better than any of my competitors because of my market dominance and leadership in many geographies. So continue with them. But since it is core for me, which is also why I want to have a separate business unit for lifestyle and ultra luxury, because I don't want them to be suffocating by the amount of time we spend on the 12 major brands. So, which is why I want Go have to basically be autonomous, independent, and empowered. On even though he's not in the 12 today, why not? He could be in the 12 in 4 years from today.
Right. Which segments and brands are most at risk, you think?
If it comes to certainly international traffic, by far the premium and accessible luxury and ultra luxury, because 70% is depending on frontiers being reopened, international travelers. But as Joanna said from JetBlue 5 minutes ago, let's not discount our industry. Our industry, and I said that for 7 years, it's a blessed industry, and it is still a blessed industry. We're going through a lost year. It could be a lost couple of years, but I guarantee you, we probably went down from 1.5 billion international travelers, and no one knows what will be the number at the end of the year. Is it 350, 400, 200, 500? I don't know, but it's going to be a number equal to maybe early 1990s. But I guarantee you, in a matter of 18 months, we will go back in excess of 1.5 billion travelers. People are sick of this pandemic. They have enough. They want oxygen. They want to live. They want to see friends. They want to travel. They want to have feelings, sentiments. They want to discover the world. If you ask the social networks, I mean, the two main topics for people that they talk about at the end of the pandemic is leisure and travel. This is the two main subjects in everybody's mind. So they're going to come back, and we'll be there to welcome them.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, good. Sorry. Okay, yeah, but just one more question on brands. Since you are simplifying, will you also simplify your 40 brands?
Answer is no. In terms of, am I going to be eliminating some of the 40? The answer is no. But as you said earlier, focus and simplify means the allocation of time pro rata will be 75% on 12 brands. That doesn't mean you don't spend time on the others, but all the brands like Mantra in Australia, Mantis in South Africa, Rixos in the Middle East and Turkey, and many others, those are very good brands. But it should not be requiring any time from me. You should require time from the guy heading Middle East and Africa for Mantis, the guy heading Southern Europe for Rixos and others. So leave them that autonomy, but it will be not as proportionate and not as big in terms of time spent. So that's okay. No, let's not eliminate any brands. All those brands have meanings for your customer base. They actually like it that way, and they benefit from the scale of Accor in terms of loyalty with a different experience.
Right. I wonder how you think COVID-19 will reshape Accor's portfolio, though. I mean, in future, for example, will there be more hotels in domestic destinations because of the rise in domestic travel? I mean, I just heard Movenpick opening in Khao Yai in
I'm not sure it's going to be more than there's plenty of hotels in any domestic destination. What is true is, with the notable exception of America, where the branded hotel segment is 75% in America, it is still less than a third in Europe, less than 20% in Middle East, less than 50% in Asia Pacific if you put aside China. So you are correct. What's likely to happen is you will have probably a greater importance and growth factor for the branded network at the expense of the mom and pop, and probably a lot of mom and pop domestic hotels in Myanmar or in Vietnam or Indochina or in Chile will probably convert into branded network, just to have the scale, to have the resources, to have the loyalty program. You know, this is probably the one thing we don't know today. The last 7 months will show to many of us, and I'm not glad about it at all, that probably 20% of the mom and pop hotels are today probably dying and need help urgently. They got it for the first 5 months from local government. Local governments cannot afford to provide that oxygen for 12 months, and let alone for 2 years. So it is a time for the big boys, us and others, to help the small hotels and small restaurants and small bars, because let's face it, anybody who's going to be coming to a Novotel or to a Fairmont, if they stay 4 days with me, And if they go to Bangkok, it's because they want to experience the Bangkok culture and to go to the small bars or small restaurants. This is what Bangkok is all about. So is Paris, so is London, so is Sao Paulo. So anybody who is saying, well, I'm going to have a greater market share because those guys are going to be dead, that is a wrong assumption and it's a wrong thinking. Help those people because they make that destination even more valuable and more sexy. So it is a time to open your home.
But what can you do to help these small and pop operators?
Well, direct traffic to them. If they are closer to your hotel, make sure they're known. And then by providing traffic to them, make sure they can attract and your local procurement, since you have the scale and you're probably buying cheaper, why can't they basically have access to the same procurement best pricing? There's a lot of things you can do for them. Why can't they basically adopt your loyalty system? Just give them visibility. That's what they need. They need traffic and visibility. I'm not a bank. None of us should be acting as a bank and basically providing funds to them. We can't do this. We can't afford it. But there's many things you can do. Training. Have those people basically being trained with you. Support local communities to make sure they don't disappear. So no, it's there's so many, and that's CSR. I mean, you know what? The next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, we started 25 years ago. Anything which is corporate social responsibility is adamantly stronger than ever in today's world. One, your employees want it, but they want proofs of it. Two, your clients will probably decide which brand they're going to go for if they see real proofs and real sensibility to it and markers. Three, you have to engage your owners who don't see it that way for many of them, that they really should be online with you and basically show those markers. This is because a lot of it is preservation of the planet. This is not fake. A lot of youngsters actually think of it much more than I ever thought of it at their age. So everything I'm related to, which is local community, local restaurant, local bar, local hotels, help them out. I mean, I guess but without destroying any shareholders' value, of course. You have to be respectful that I guess you're dealing with somebody else's money, which is not mine. But I think this is the way of the future.
I guess that's what you meant by positive hospitality, how the hospitality industry can be a better industry when we've got to the other side of this crisis, right?
But you know, we've been positive. If you look at, and it's probably worth mentioning, a lot of things been happening into the second wave in the pandemic. It's been coming from private houses, private reunions, people on the open air and dancing all together. There's very, very little basically second wave coming from the hotel industry. All of us, we have been impeccable in terms of safety, in terms of health, in terms of social distancing. We are super responsible and people that government could rely on, which is why I don't want to stop tourism. The government should trust even more so the hotel companies because we know what we're dealing against. And we need basically all that oxygen to be back. So, but no, it's positive means be coherent, be draconian, do what you say, and embark people.
Okay. So as Asia is recovering, the first to recover, or is recovering, are you doubling down on growth in Asia and slowing down on, say, North America due to the number of higher cases there?
No, I mean, no one should be dictated by geopolitics or social disarray or strikes or pandemic. We are, all of us, going into a 5 to 10 year bet every time we put a foot in a country. So you need agility so you can slow down something. But no, we're still very strong in Asia Pacific. We actually kept the pace in Asia Pacific and increased by 25% our expansion in Europe. And it's not because we actually decided to be slow in Asia Pacific. That's not the case. We just decided to have more headcounts, more developers, more resources, human capital in Europe to grow faster. So no, it is a time to grow. It's not the time to slow down in many territories.
Okay, I want to ask this question. Should we put to rest the speculation that Accor is taking over IHG?
I've been following Accor as a board member for 16 years, as a CEO and chairman for the last 7 years. Every other year, there is analysts and journalists talking about a merger between Accor and Intercom. So it's one of those who comes back every 18 months. And Accor never commented on any press speculation. We all fine. IG is a great company. Accor is a great company. Consolidation might happen one day, but this is not Accor's priority at all.
Okay. Because actually, just very quickly, because I heard that the board was in favor of a deal, but you were more cautious and you didn't think the timing was right. Is that true?
Well, you heard from press and journalists who's never attended my board, so they know nothing. They have no idea.
So we want to put to rest that speculation, right?
And I won't comment on it. And you know what? If there is any different views between my management team, myself, my board, it's super healthy. Anything which is consensus, I don't like. So let's make sure we have different views because it makes us smarter.
Okay. But what are your thoughts on whether or not COVID will accelerate a further consolidation of chains?
Unlikely, because many of us, we have to preserve capital because we don't know when the rebound of the market will be. Is it by summer 2021? Is it by summer 2022? So it's a time to be prudent. What I can say, which is, however, is you'll see more bolt-on local partnership, merger, acquisition because of the fragility of many local regional operators in which some of us could be not taking advantage, but could open our arms on basically welcoming those local regional operators. And Accor's done that, I think, brilliantly for the last 7 years with so many of them, always friendly, always non-auction, always basically discussing directly with the owners and the CEOs, and it worked all the time. So you might see those probably coming faster because of the today's economic debacle. So that is likely.
Yeah.
That's
I remember.
Yeah,
because you said Accor had never seen so many inquiries from small and medium-sized groups, right? And that you're interested in portfolios of 10,000 rooms or above.
Because we know them, Raini, you know Michael for a long time. Every people on the ground at Accor in local offices, local countries are locals. They are from Australia, they're from New Zealand, they are from Bangkok. They know they've been raising kids together with the guy, even though he works for competitive brands. They know each other for the last 20 years. That trusting relationship has been built together. So which is why the first people they call is the guy they trust the most. And that's what happened with Movenpick, and that's what happened with Mantra, and that's what happened with Rixos, and I could go on and on and on. So it's just a matter of DNA and culture. Accor decided 50 years ago to be local and not to be centralized. Many other companies decided to be centralized, and one is not wrong, the other is right. I'm just saying it's a different DNA and a different footprint. So yes, in today's debacle, having so many local knowledge and so much history in so many countries, of course, it helps us knowing better and have greater market intelligence on many geographies. Of course it does.
I have so many questions. I don't think I did a good job in following your strategy.
I can't read. I didn't put my glasses on, so I can tell you I can't read any of the questions. I see them on the right, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, I'll just ask you one final question because honestly, I'm out of time. You were Mr. Disruption to the global hotel industry, right? So my last question is, are you done with disruption?
No, I'm not done with disruption, but am I taking a pride of being a disruptor? No, clearly no. And guess what? A lot of people have not disrupted their own industry and they had a better equity story and better market appreciation for the investors, and I respect it. So I'm only saying think out of the box because your customers want you to be different tomorrow, even more so after the pandemic. They want more experience, more access to local communities, more wellness, more health safety. And so anything which is commodity product and brand, I think will be fading away in the next 20 to 30 years. Just make sure you accept to transform yourself. It doesn't mean being a disruptor. And all my peers are doing the same. So it's just, no, I don't take any credit of being a disruptor.
Okay, thank you so much. Sawadika, as we say here.